Okay, in this video we're going to go over how to take pictures of our finished products and have those photographs come out, looking semi-professional or very clean and clear, focused, reduced hard shadows and reduced glare and things like that. And so what I want to make sure everyone understands is I'm not an expert in photography by any stretch. I am an IT professional. I've been doing that for over 20 years, and photography for me is a little bit of a hobby, and so I toy around with it, and I can do a few things, and I may say some things wrong or use some wrong terminology, so if anyone catches me doing so, please feel free to correct me in the comments down below. And the key to photography, for especially taking pictures of still products, is lighting, lighting, lighting. And what I mean by that, lighting comes in, there's really two factors that you consider. One is the light itself, the light source, and the second is the camera settings and making sure that they match up to the lighting source properly and to get the results that you want. So we're going to be doing this, and I'll go over some things with three different types of cameras. We'll be using, this is a Canon Digital Rebel DSLR and digital SLR. This camera is 8 megapixel. It's probably 8 or 10 years old, but it does a great job. I have a 5 megapixel Canon. This camera also is about 10 years old probably. This is a point and shoot type. And we have our camera phone. This is a Samsung Galaxy S3, and we'll be using that, and I'll be showing you a few things on that as well. So the first thing I like to cover are the settings for your camera, and there's a few different settings that you can change and move around and toy with, and one of them is the presets that are on most cameras. Most cameras, I know, generally Canons, these are both Canons and they both have the same settings. There is a P for program mode, and this auto detects a lot of the settings for you. It's very, very simple to use. This TV mode, that doesn't mean television, it has to do with the aperture settings, and I don't know the specifics of that, but I can show you what it's going to do differently. The aperture is the part of the camera lens that opens and closes when you take a picture, and the two settings that affect the aperture are how wide it opens and how long it stays open. So and that affects your overall exposure. With the TV setting, one of the things that's nice that it does is it will kind of blur what's in the background for you. So if you are say taking a picture of an object on the hand railing of your deck on your home outside, and you use that setting, it will tend to blur the things that are in the background in the distance in your yard, as opposed to everything being kind of in focus and you're seeing all the detail and the kids' toys in the yard, things like that. You would see more blurred objects. Okay, I like to use that outside a lot, and there's another way I like to use that I'll explain in a moment. Indoors, most of the time I use the program setting, and I can use those program setting on the point and shoot as well, and I get pretty close to the same results. And most people don't know this, but on your camera phone, again, this is a Samsung Galaxy DSLR, I can change some of those same settings. And so if I go into my camera settings, for example, I can set the temperature. By default, it's probably set on automatic. I can say that I have fluorescent lighting, and as you can see, it changed the color of the cedar wood behind this mug pretty good. If I go back in and I tell it that I have incandescent lighting, you'll see it goes kind of blue because I don't have incandescent lighting. I have a fluorescent light over my head right now. So I'm going to change that back to fluorescent lighting, And there you go, you see the much more natural color now. And there are also other settings in your camera phone as well. You can change the ISO, usually it's set to auto. It usually affects how dark it is. Things, whether you're saving it to an SD card or internal memory if you're using an Android device. Things like that. So, and you can also set your picture quality generally from, like very small file size to a very large, very high quality detailed file size. Now, one of the things that I don't like as much about using a camera phone, if all you have is a camera phone, that's fine. You can make some of those adjustments and get pretty good pictures with it. A lot of times you don't realize there are some distortions on camera phones, and you really don't see that until you have certain situations. The example I'm going to show you now is a selfie that my wife and I tried to take of ourselves, and you can imagine our surprise when we came out looking kind of like this. And that was with the phone that's in my hand right now. It's a Samsung Galaxy S3, a very good phone, great camera phone. It does take wonderful pictures, but at certain angles things get distorted, so beware of that. Now, to take pictures of still objects, your best lighting is usually going to be outdoors, especially if you can take the photograph on a nice, bright, cloudy day. Not a dark, stormy looking day, but just a very bright, overcast day. You notice a lot of times when you go out and it's very overcast, you have to wear sunglasses because it is very bright out, and that distributes the light very evenly. If you're taking photographs outside and it's sunny, you want to try to take your photographs in a shady area generally with the sun behind you. The sun doesn't need to be shining on your back, but if the sunny area is behind you and maybe you're in the corner, maybe on your deck, it's a shaded area at a particular time of the day, but the sun is on the other side, you can get some great photographs that way. I don't particularly like to take pictures of items like this in the sun because of glares and reflections and hot spots and bright spots, things like that. So taking photographs indoor is a little bit more tricky, and I do this without a flash whenever possible, because if you use a flash, it can cause hard shadows and really bad glares, very washed out looking finished photograph. And so if you do use a flash, you generally want to use what's called a bounce flash. This is a flash. Normally it mounts on top of the camera, and so I actually have a remote trigger, so I can position this flash anywhere and get a good evenly distributed flash without having it focused right on the product. So if I have to, I use that, but I try not to. And I try to use just lots of light indoors. Like I said, right now I have a fluorescent light over my head, over the product you're looking at. And we'll get the camera position around and see if we can take a photograph and let you see what this is going to look like. So I took that picture from behind the camera, and I'll display it on the screen in the video now. And so you'll see that it's a nice, clear, even, well-lit product. No glares, no shadows, things like that. And it's just a good, natural, light photograph. If you're going to take pictures of items indoors, and you need some additional natural light, do not set the product up in the window to where the sun or the light is behind the product, because it will cast a shadow and the front of your item will be dark. You want to generally have the natural light to your back so that the light is shining in. And I'm going to show you a picture that I took right now of my daughter looking out a window, and I took the picture in that angle with me facing her. She's facing the window, and the window is at my back, and you see that I get a good light cast on her face in this photograph. Another thing you'll want to consider is whether or not you want to invest in a light box like the one shown on the screen.
the light box will allow you to take photographs of your product in an environment where light is very evenly distributed to minimize or eliminate any kind of shadows and glares. You can also make your own light box fairly inexpensively and easily. It gives you some versatility as well in the size of the object by purchasing this Elmer's foam board that you can buy at Staples. And what I did was purchase one large flat piece to put on the table, and then the piece you see on your screen is kind of a tri-fold, something like you might see for a booth setup at a trade show or something like that. And I set it up in a tri-fold formation on top of the flat white piece, and use that to minimize any kind of shadows and things like that. Another thing with shadows is if you place your item you're taking a photograph out away from whatever it's in front of, so this white board would be 6, 8, 10 inches behind your object. That way, even if you're using a flash, a lot of times you will not get, or you can reduce your shadows that way as well.
The other thing you want to watch for are angles. So you don't want to generally take a photograph at an angle like this unless you're looking for a specific feature on purpose. You want to try to take your photograph in line so that things like this straight line behind the item is level in the photograph. And so you'll typically see when you look through the viewfinder in your camera, or on a digital camera, well, I need to change my batteries, but you'll see some markers that show you, and you can line up your camera and get those even with those lines and keep your shot level. You want to try to take your photographs either portrait mode or landscape mode as appropriate. For example, this one mug I would want to take as a portrait mode photograph, but if I had 2 mugs or 3 mugs, I would want to take those as a landscape photograph. So I'm going to show you a few examples now of photographs that I've taken in this exact setting, and if you have any questions or comments, please leave them down below. If you like the video, please click like, share, and subscribe.